Hi, and welcome to Fusion Smart Answers integration with DialogFlow. My name is Mierop. I'm a solution engineer here at Lucidworks, and I'm joined today with Amit Kumar, a technical solution consultant in the cloud AI practice at Google. Today, we're going to be talking about conversational AI trends that we see in the industry, semantic search and how they relate to chatbots. We'll do a quick demo of Smart Answers, and then Amit will give us an overview of DialogFlow. So what are we seeing in the industry today? This was a report released from Gartner just a couple of months back, showing that there's been a 10x increase in the number of new chat conversations online. And I think in a lot of ways, unsurprisingly so. We've been riding this digital transformation wave for a number of years now, but an accelerant to all of this, of course, has been COVID-19. Employees working remotely, shoppers trying to find answers to their questions in isolation. All of this put a lot of increased demand on customer support teams. This was another report released in February from Gartner showing that the main use cases have been centered around customer support, call center agents, virtual assistants, and employee portals. Something else that we're noticing is that in addition for the use cases being related to cost savings, we have a lot of customers and prospects wanting a chatbot or an intelligent virtual assistant to serve as a revenue driver in addition to that. So I think the bar is beginning to get set pretty high. So what were some of the limitations traditionally with chatbots? One of which was that they couldn't retain the context of a conversation. And that was a problem because after a couple of questions, you really quickly realize that probably wasn't going to help you in the way you hoped, and you didn't abandon it entirely. Part of the problem and the reason for that was because the back-end intelligence was really just static, rules-driven workflows that someone had to maintain. And it kind of became a maintenance nightmare to keep one of these running and keep it relevant in terms of the line of incoming questions. So in the past few years, we've definitely seen a massive improvement in this, particularly around natural language understanding. I'm even seeing a lot of these smaller boutique chatbot companies and frameworks sprout up that are allowing you to train a model, Dockerize that solution, upload it to the cloud, and then horizontally scale that out. Now, I think that's absolutely a step in the right direction, but when it comes to having a usable chatbot that is easy to maintain and that can learn on its own over time, you definitely need more pieces and more components helping you here. And this is where Fusion can come into play. So let's build up to Smart Answers, and we'll look at some of the benefits of using Fusion's information retrieval as kind of a foundational piece to this. So when we think about answers to questions, answers can really live in a lot of different places and come from a lot of different locations. It might be more than just a set of curated FAQs that your company has. Questions and answers can also live in community forums. They could be in Word files or PDFs or blog posts, for example. So connecting to all of these different data sources and then ingesting that into a search index is an important first step. Now, in addition to the intelligence that Smart Answers applies and brings, we also need other types of natural language processing capabilities like entity extraction. So as a conversation's happening with a chatbot, we can identify what are some of the key concepts being spoken about, because we might want to take some type of action if we recognize a known entity. We also need the ability to track signals. So if a user is interacting with a chatbot and maybe they don't get an answer that's quite what they were looking for, they might want to send some type of a signal to Fusion that says, give me the next answer, or let's try again. And what we can do is we could track that information and that particular type of behavior, and then ultimately feed that back into Smart Answers so that it becomes smarter and smarter over time. So all of these different layers and factors is what we use as a foundation to build Smart Answers. Okay, so what exactly is Smart Answers? Smart Answers is an intelligent Q&A system. It is a simplified way to use deep learning models to understand the context and semantic meaning of users' questions. Once we have that, we could then find the most appropriate answer in the back end of Fusion. And the benefits of doing this can really help with call center deflection. It can help make your call center agents more effective and even help in e-commerce settings as well. So how does it work at a high level? Well, we have a couple different ways that we can train a model. We could do supervised, unsupervised, and we even ship with a generally trained model that's pre-trained that you could use really fast. So as soon as you ingest your data, just use that model, create your encodings, and then you're essentially done. And then we just tune it from there. So once that model is created, it's automatically uploaded to our machine learning service, which makes it readily available inside of your index and query pipelines. So once we have that model referenceable in a stage, for example, any incoming documents or Q&A pairs will be encoded into deep vector representations. Similarly, during query time, we'll add that same model to the query pipeline, and that incoming question or query from the user is also encoded into a deep vector representation. And then from there, we could find the similarity between that user's question and the most appropriate answer inside of our search index. Now, where does Google Dialogflow fit into this? Well, Smart Answers is really conversational middleware. We make it easy to use and train a model without having to be a data scientist. Although if you are a data scientist, we also have a lot of different configuration settings for you to fine tune this process. But ultimately, we don't ship with a chatbot user interface or a virtual assistant. For that, we rely on a chatbot platform or a framework that has a friendly set of APIs that we can connect to. We found Google Dialogflow to be really easy to use. It came with text-to-speech and speech-to-text translation that was extremely accurate. It also came with a pre-built chatbot that we could leverage a webhook for. So as users ask questions into our chatbot, we just intercept that question, let Google translate the speech into text, send that over to Fusion, where Smart Answers will find an answer, and then we send that JSON payload back to Google Dialogflow for the answer to be spoken back to the user. And what's really great about it is we could use a chatbot interface, we could use a cellular phone, for example, and create a virtual assistant type of experience. And also, if you're using Managed Fusion that lives in Google Cloud Platform, well, of course, that's where Google Dialogflow is hosted in as well. So I have one place to go to evaluate logs and see exactly what's going on if I have to troubleshoot any particular scenarios, or just to help me when I'm developing this. So let's take a look at it and see what it looks like in action. I'm going to switch over to my cell phone, which I'll be screencasting live here. And I'm going to talk to a fictitious company called DataBack. And I'm just going to start asking some technical questions and hope I find the answer. Hey, Google, talk to DataBack.
Okay, let's get the test version of DataBack. How may I help you?
What happens if the private analytics upload fails?
If the data upload fails, then the service will try to upload again after 60 minutes. Upload failures are reported in the dbd.log file.
So Google Dialogflow translated my voice into text. We sent that over to Fusion, and Fusion gave us an answer back. And all of this, the user interface for this, we didn't have to develop at all. We just had to write the webhook logic, which was about 100 lines of Node.js. So let's ask this question in a different way and hope we get the same answer. The upload isn't working for the analytics server.
If the data upload fails, then the service will try to upload again after 60 minutes.
And we still get the same answer back, which is what we would expect. Let's try it one more time and we'll change up the wording yet again. What should I do if uploading to the analytics server is unsuccessful?
If the data upload fails, then the service will try to upload again after 60 minutes.
So what's really cool about this is I can ask that question in a variety of different ways, maybe even using words that are not in my search index at all. And I can still get the right answer back. And that saves us a lot of time. We don't have to maintain a big list of synonyms or rules or anything of the sort. We just let the semantic understanding um, do basically the hard work for us. Another thing we could do is we can create some self-tuning behavior just using really the components built inside of the Fusion platform. So let's ask a question and we'll see how we feel about it. How do I speed up backups?
You can back up an entire instance more quickly by scheduling multiple child clients for simultaneous backup.
Now, that was a perfectly acceptable answer, but let's say that it wasn't exactly what I was looking for. Maybe I want something a little different. I could send a request to Fusion to give me a new answer. Try again.
If you are experiencing performance issues during backup, you can troubleshoot them by enabling logging of performance details in the log files. Was that better?
Yes, thank you.
I'll let Fusion know you liked this answer the best.
How can I speed up backups?
If you are experiencing performance issues during backup, you can troubleshoot them by enabling logging of performance details in the log files.
So you could see that we could send some positive feedback to Fusion, and then Smart Answers can take that into account and then send me the most recent answer back that we indicated was most appropriate. So that was just a quick example of what you could do with Google Dialogflow and how it integrates with Smart Answers. So how does this actually look behind the scenes? How does it work? Well, Fusion needs a friendly chatbot framework to work with. That framework, of course, was Google Dialogflow in this case. And Fusion Smart Answers sits right in the middle of that. So as utterances come into the platform in the form of questions, what we're doing is we're essentially creating one intent, one primary intent, and it's actually the fallback intent. So everything gets routed to a single endpoint, which is ultimately controlled by a webhook, which is just some Node.js code that takes that text, sends it over to Fusion, Smart Answers finds an answer, and then sends it right back through that pipeline. And then that answer was translated into speech, which was spoken back to that particular user. So really simple, but really powerful in what you can do. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Amit, and he can take it from there. Amit?
Thank you, Stephen. I'm going to talk a little bit about Dialogflow in general, what sort of different capabilities Dialogflow provides, and what sort of architectural components that you can integrate and build a sophisticated conversational experiences for your enterprises. So at a very high level, Dialogflow is really a core conversational platform that Google provides. It is using the similar set of services that some of the other Google products are using. So for example, speech to text, text to speech, knowledge service for supporting the knowledge bases. You can upload a lot of your FAQs and articles and use those as a part of Dialogflow answers. Many of the NLP capabilities for natural language processing as well as for sentiments, and then obviously speech conversion from text to speech as well as from speech to text. So really, Dialogflow is the integrated conversational platform that you can use for your enterprise. Next slide, please, Steve. At a high level, why exactly you want to utilize Dialogflow? So Dialogflow gives you this integrated IDE development platform. It gives you a lot of the pre-built agents where you could use those as a template. So for example, if you are trying to build a FAQ bot, or if you are trying to build a bot for financial domain or any specific vertical, it gives you a lot of those pre-built templates that you can import and start to configure for your own specific use cases. Additionally, a lot of the training tasks, a lot of the training phrases and NLP related tasks are pretty simple. You do not need to learn any AI specific technology. This is all click and code, click configuration type of tool where you just provide the training phrases and create and click configurations and just deploy your chatbots. So it's the development experience is really fast. Your go-to-market is really fast. Similarly, you can engage, provide the similar sort of omni-channel experience for different channels, whether it's a chat or it's a voice. You don't need to change, or you don't need to build a different bot for that. It's the same bot that you can enable in different channels. It gives you a lot of flexibility from an integration standpoint. So if you have some of your existing backend applications, for example, Salesforce or ServiceNow, you can pretty easily integrate those using fulfillment. And that's one of the integration that we have done with Lucidworks here in the demo that Steven just showed. And then again, the training and analytics is again available across the platform. It's a one single integrated platform that you are not doing differently for different channels. From a reach standpoint, it supports a number of different languages. There are different platforms and SDKs available pretty much for any language you can think of that you can use and build your client applications. And then again, you just build it once and then continue to deploy in your different frameworks. So it's really providing you a pretty sophisticated go-to-market, faster go-to-market, and providing you the platform for building your conversational design and experiences. Next slide, please. This is at a very high level, the architecture, the way it looks like. DialogFlow gives you number of capability, number of one-click integrations for different channels. So for example, Facebook, Apple Business Chat, Google Assistant, these are all one-click integrations that are available. Similarly, for voice, DialogFlow is integrated with number of telephony partners like Genesys and Avaya. And using those pre-built integrations, you can bring your voice and chats into DialogFlow. And that is where you are applying your NLP and your number of other artificial intelligence related capabilities. And then from there on, using fulfillment, you can integrate this with your backend applications. So for example, you may want to provide an experience where customers want to come in and they want to know the order status. So you can build that conversational experience with the intent, and you can ask customers to provide the order number, and you would be able to integrate with your backend order management system and provide that status back to customer. So you can really build a lot of the self-services type of experiences with DialogFlow pretty easily. Next slide, please. This is what we were just talking about earlier. This is the webhook integrations that we have done with Smart Answers. So in general, we have defined an intent. Intent is really the action that user wants to do. So as user is speaking with the system and user is or they're providing the transcript, we are detecting the action that user wants to take. And based on that action, we can specifically invoke certain webhooks, and that webhook can do a number of things. It could integrate with some of the other cloud services, or it can integrate with some of your backend applications. So in this case, we are using webhook to integrate with answers and then provide this overall conversational experience. Next slide, please. So here, we just wanted to highlight a few architectural components. So as we discussed earlier, DialogFlow is the omni-channel platform. So you would just build your agent once, and you would enable that for different channels. You are not building different bots for voice and chat and social channels. It is intelligent enough to detect the channel and then continue to work on the same logic and the configuration that you have built. It uses the similar AI capabilities, AI services that other Google products are using. So it's using the same speech-to-text, text-to-speech, and NLP capabilities. It does have a very sophisticated, optimized, enhanced model, so that different sort of experiences, different sort of channels can be enabled through DialogFlow. And then as we discussed earlier, in general, DialogFlow is very well integrated with other GCP, Google Cloud products. So it really simplifies the overall architecture. You are not integrating on some of the other AI services. It does all that work behind the scene for you. So just simply invoking, integrating with DialogFlow, and then rest, it's going to take care for you. It does give you a lot of the enterprise readiness capability out of the box. So for example, all the traffic, all the interaction in transit as well at rest is encrypted by default. You do not have to pay anything additional for that. It has pretty sophisticated monitoring and logging capabilities. So you can really see end-to-end transactions, end-to-end conversations. It logs all the interactions, so you can really go and see all of your chat histories and the conversations that agent and customers are having. And it does give you pretty sophisticated analytics capabilities as well. So it gives you all the real-time conversational analytics, why customers are calling, what sort of case categorizations are there. So you can do a lot of work on that transcript and the data that is available to you. And again, it is really highly performant because it uses a number of optimized hardware. So for example, these services are using TPUs behind the scene. It does support gRPC for real-time streaming as customers are having interaction with the telephony partner. So it's really, really highly performant and really gives you low latency-based integration options. So with that, I want to take some time and give you a little demo of DialogFlow screens. So I will take in control here. With this, so this is the DialogFlow IDE. So really gives you all the different options for configuring and building your conversational experiences. In the DialogFlow terminology, we call this as an agent, DialogFlow agent. And then on the left-hand side, it gives you a lot of different options for configurations. So intent is really the utterance and what exactly the user is trying to do. So as users are speaking and providing and the voice is being streamed, DialogFlow is going to look at the stream and then extract the intent or the actions that the user want to take. So for example, in this case, I have an intent called hotel book. So essentially, as the customer is speaking, they want to book a hotel. You can click on an intent, and you can provide a lot of different training phrases here, sort of how exactly different ways customers can say when they are trying to book a travel or book a hotel. You don't have to do exact match because it uses a lot of the NLP capabilities. So with that, based on just few training phrases, it would be able to extract a specific intent. And then from the intent, it has ability to extract parameters. It does that automatically for you. So as customers are saying, I want to book a hotel room for 2 persons for tomorrow, for example. So from this particular utterance, the DialogFlow would be able to extract the number of people that you want to book hotel for, when exactly you want to book it for, and then for example, locations and a few other things. So it does that automatically for you without doing any specific coding. And then you can set different responses, what exactly you want to send back to the customer. As a part of this response, you can also configure a fulfillment action that we were just talking about. So essentially, you are trying to understand what exactly user want to do. you want to extract those parameters, and then you want to invoke some sort of backend REST base or some other service which will actually do the reservation booking for you. Entities are really the variables that you define. DialogFlow comes with a lot of these system-defined entities. So for example, date, time, color, city, code, zip code, a lot of those things are pre-built, so you don't have to really define those. As soon as you provide the training phrases, DialogFlow will automatically understand those and then will extract it and start using those for you. It does give you ability to create your own specific custom entities. So in this case, for example, we have created one for star. What is the star for the hotel room that you want to book, and you define those values and different ways, different synonyms that you can the customer can use for using those values. Fulfillment is another option here. We kind of touched on that briefly earlier. So fulfillment is an option for integrating DialogFlow with some of your backend applications. So here you have a number of different options. It could be, you could invoke your existing services that you may be running somewhere in on-prem or any other cloud providers. You could also build your serverless options here using Google Cloud Functions and deploy there. So you have a number of different options to build and deploy your backend service. Integrations are really one-click integrations for some of the social channels as well as with telephony partners. And then next area here is really giving you options for a training. So it gives you a pretty sophisticated out-of-the-box training tool where you would be able to upload a training file where you have listed training data for each of your intents that you have defined. And you would be able to use that for training rather than going in each and every intent and typing it there. You can use this option where you could upload that training file. Validation history is another cool feature where you would be able to go and see the historical information as the customers are having interactions and conversation with the bot. You can go back and look at all that history information. It also gives you this tool here where you could really test your chatbot, a voice bot, and see how it works and what exactly it's doing. So for example, I just said book hotel, and it gives you information that what's the intent it's invoking, and then you would be able to see some of the other additional parameters and what exactly the context it's capturing from that particular customer trends. So a lot of out-of-the-box capability here. It's a pretty well-integrated IDE platform for building your enterprise conversational flow. So with that, I think that's all we wanted to cover today. Thank you very much for taking time.